First question, is this on? Is it on now? Yes, there we go. Right, I've been warned not to let it bash around too much, because apparently it was doing that during Graham's talk earlier on. Great, yes, not virtual reality. I can be virtual, but I'm quite real. So I've got a bit of a disclaimer, which I'll get to in a couple of slides about this talk, but obviously please come and go if you think this is, not virtual reality interesting. But I'm going to talk about ransomware, the battle we will not win. My name's Dan Raywood, and I still don't know if it's actually a dash. There's a dash here, Securi-Tay, but the hashtag is no dash, because that wouldn't work for code. And in my day job, I work for Infosecurity Magazine, so we'll get to that in just a second. When you are submitting talks, you have to think of a title really that's really clever, and then I thought that was, in hindsight, rubbish, so instead of going from stuck to stuck without the net, so that's one of the challenges of doing talks. 3 months out, you're thinking, oh God, a headline, and then you think, you're stuck with it. So this is kind of my alternative one. So a bit about me. I've got a day job in Security. I was an analyst and done some other work as well. And top one's the most important, obviously, because that's what I do now. So just a little disclaimer before I get going. And the reason why you're going to see me holding pieces of paper is if you do have the choice to follow me on Twitter, you'll see that, there we go. Right, which one's that? Here we go. I found out on Monday that I was doing this because the virtual reality man couldn't make it. So this was written in 3 days. It was on Monday at about 4 o'clock. It was in notes on my phone, and here it is in notes in my hand. So, and a slide deck. So, if this is slightly crap, I do apologise in advance because that's basically been my week, and I'm very delighted to be here. First time at Securi-Tay actually, and it's been a really good day. Actually, really delighted to round off your day almost, apart from going from secure work. So, what I want to do today is, I'm not a techie. I'm going to have a disclaimer. I'm not here to kind of tell you how to create ransomware. Obviously, I wouldn't do that in the first place. I'm going to try and talk about defeat ransomware, how coding works. I'm take a great inside grin whenever. Also, the other thing, I've got no idea of timing on this talk because I've literally run through it in the bar about an hour ago, and I think it works the time. Anyone says to me, you've got a history in computing or security, I said no, but I'd like to think I do. As you see from the previous one, I've basically been doing this since about 2008, so everything I've done from then is what I'm presenting now. I'm not kind of techie, I'm not here how it works, but what I can present to you is sort of the business side of ransomware and how as an industry we're doing something about it and the impact it's having, because it's a pretty massive issue continuing for business. So the thing that kind of bothered me a lot about ransomware, well, more than the fact that it's really hitting people, is we've gone from big worms, and you see lots of film references in this. I love cultural references to films, so if this was Brucon, you'll be cheering every time you saw one, but we're all on Coke and Iron Brew for some reason. So, basically, we've gone from, when I started out in writing about IT, it was, IT security, it was Configure, and some of you probably as old as me remember stuff like that. And then we went on to various other things. And I don't get, there's some, what I'm going to identify here is a point when I think that sort of the threat landscape completely changed from being very sophisticated to being absolutely rubbish. So essentially, we started with massive worms in 2010, and, who remembers Stuxnet? Stuxnet, identified 2010, targeted industrial systems, in particular the Iranian nuclear energy facility, and a great documentary called 0 Days. It's really worth, it's a terrible title, but really worth looking at. Probably the most sophisticated piece of malware ever seen. Another one, Duku, not spelt like that, D-U-Q-U. Detected September 11, you try and illustrate it. Also looks for information that could be useful in attacking industrial control systems, but gathered information. Flame, detected 2012, used for targeted cyber espionage in the Middle East specifically. Very sophisticated, could write its own certificates, really, really clever stuff. This was about espionage rather than actual sort of disruption that Stuxnet was. Gauss, who's a man from Austria, sorry, the Austrian guy is just in their last talk, but they probably could tell you who Gauss is. Is designed to collect as much information about infected systems as possible, steal credentials for banking systems and social networks and stuff like that. Very widespread, much more than Flame, but pretty significant. Red October, I spent hours thinking of that name. Cyber espionage malware discovered October 2012, operated for 5 years, targeting Middle East. Really, damn, sophisticated stuff, And, basically in a sort of a connected world, these were these 5 worms I've just picked out. A lot of them worked on by Kaspersky Lab. Anyone from Kaspersky here? Some really great work in the early part of this decade, as it were. Targeted diplomats, governments, scientific research organisations want to collect all the information in, want to make sure that everyone knows what's going on. And, it's really bad stuff. So, upon discovery, actually, particularly with Red October, 60 domains were closed down immediately. Tech has just disappeared. Very few people were ever arrested for all this. And if you really read into Stuxnet, you'll find there's a lot of rumour about who was behind it, being government, stuff like that. So the thing was, what happened in 2013 was everything great. All those kind of detections stopped. I remember asking Kaspersky, saying, basically with Red October, look, is there something like that going on now that we're going to find out in about 2018 that started in 2013? And I didn't remember the answer they gave me. But did everything change? 2013, we didn't hear any more of these big threat research. It all becomes kind of a bit more standardized, really, and it's like more kind of averagey malware. So what I'm kind of wanting to know, where are all the big worms gone, and is everything happening now? Well, to be quite honest, the hackers, but they become pretty lazy. Hackers, I should say attackers. When I say hackers, I mean malicious, don't mean, like sort of types of ethical hackers. Did the attackers, did they kind of become much more lazy? Was it just a case of like, well, we can drop all these 0 days that, gives you one shot, and if you get blocked and that's it, you spent all that effort and research. So they just thought, well, let's try something a bit more easy. And you know what, they kind of did, and it kind of worked. And as a result of that, crypto ransomware was created, this one for friends of the 60s, well, to be honest, it's something new. We're talking about extortion here, we're talking about blackmail, and they're hardly new. I mean, if we look at, for example, in 2013, McAfee found that it collected over 250,000 unique samples, 250,000 of ransomware in the first quarter of 2013. That was more than double the number from the previous year of 2012. So 2013, everyone starts making ransomware and distributing ransomware. Why is that? I think we'll get to that in just a second. But it's actually, the number they could actually see to. So I want to know, 2013, something changed in security. Something changed in the world, that we went from something like a sophisticated Red October in flame to something as noisy and sabotagical, which is a word I've just created, to make security change. I looked at 2013, I thought, what happened in 2013? I'll tell you what happened in 2013. There you go. I've been Dan Raywood, thank you very much. Frozen happened, 400 million at the box office, thanks to IMDb for that one. So, 2013, that was the biggest film of the year, apparently, after some others. 2013, what else happened? Obama's re-inaugurated. Pope Benedict died. The skeleton of Richard III is discovered. Oscar Pistorius charged with murder. Margaret Thatcher dies. Boston Marathon bombing. Alex Ferguson retired. See, I'm picking the Scottish ones out, can't you? Lee Rigby murder. Andy Murray wins. Prince George is born. Chelsea Manning sentenced. The phone hacking trial begins. And Nelson Mandela dies. Pretty massive year. If you think 2016 was big for news headlines, maybe the focus isn't on cyber. None of those to do with cyber. Okay, a new president came in. He was already there. But, lots of stuff that's going on in the world that's very geopolitical, but nothing's really focused on cyber. However, 6th of June 2013, I'll give a prize of free beer at the after party. If anyone can remember 6th of June 2013? For that man, free beer, that's the man. That happened. 6th of June 2013, Edward Snowden appeared. So, actually quite a big year for cyber, to contradict myself from just now. 3 days later, he reveals himself. 6th of June is when the initial stories go up on The Guardian and some other places. 3 days later, he outs himself, as it were. 21st of June, Edward Snowden is charged by the US with espionage, theft of government property, unauthorized communication of national defense information, and willful communication of classified data. Christ almighty. I was off the tongue, I should have got another drink. Right. 2 days later, he arrives in Russia. 1st of August 2013, he is granted 1 year temporary asylum in Russia. There he is, he's still there, he still has the country, he's still in Russia though, so, I don't think Trump's going to be giving him any kind of a Manning-esque, buys anytime soon. So, the question I would raise here, did espionage, because it wasn't being done by government, he's kind of proved that governments were doing it, so hackers aren't doing it, or maybe the hackers were doing it, but they're doing it for the government. I'll say that Snowden changed everything in security. He moved it from espionage. I'm going to say he started ransomware. If anyone wants to quote me on that, Jamie, if you're still listening from earlier on the IoT, you want to misquote me on something like I did with you, you're very welcome to misquote me on Edward Snowden created ransomware. But he did something very significant, and he actually changed it. So everyone thought, well, now we know espionage is going on. So attackers thought, well, let's do something a bit different. So ransomware appears. Now, is that coincidence, or is it just... I'm going to get some points later on, I think, why ransomware has been so successful. Two types of ransomware in particular. There's crypto ransomware and there's locker ransomware. Crypto changes your files so you can't open them. Locker basically locks down your device, very specific only on mobile. So, I'm not here to kind of explain what it is, but, if you get a screen that looks like that, then, you've done something wrong. Obviously not really the FBI, but we'll get onto them in a minute. But otherwise you have 72 hours to pay the fine, otherwise you will be arrested. So, if you're someone outside of our little room here and, this whole conference and outside of our whole industry, if you see you're obliged to pay a fine of $200, best pay the fine through blank, pay the fine thanks to Google Images for this, and, send the codes to fine@fbi.gov, and for the average person, they're going to be quite terrified by that, because there's also ones going around, things have been detected in your web history, things you've been to. It's a bit rough, really. So this was ransomware, smash and grab of malware, really kind of destructive, really sort of noisy, after something that's been so sophisticated and so well built that Stuxnet and Flame, etc. was. We get to ransomware. And, well, how prominent is it? I've got a few examples of just how prominent ransomware really is. So this is my website, Infosecurity, or website I work for, I should say. Ransomware targeted 50% of orgs last year. This is according to Radware. This was from just about 6 weeks ago or so. Chose deeply, 49% have been the subject of a cyber ransom campaign in 2016. About that one, ransomware doubled since July. That is according to Checkpoint. Locky accounts 41%, whatever. July to December to account 10.5% of all recognized malware it was ransomware. That was in last year. CNBC report, this was in December, that the 6,000% increase compared to 2015. That's how much more detection there's been by IBM Security. Was in 40% of all spam messages in 2016. Really damn quite sophisticated stuff. It's everywhere. Why? Because it works, it's easy to make, and people keep clicking on it. DC. I'm sure those of you have been there. Actually, it's quite a nice place, to be honest with you. 70% of storage devices. This was in January 12th, January 15th. 123 of 187 CCTV cameras were affected by ransomware and shut down. We're talking smart grid stuff now. This stuff is all connected to the internet. Ransomware gets affected into that as well. So 12th to the 15th. What happens 5 days later? He gets in. I bet he got them back again. Let's get it off him. So this was, really, really quite significant. This one was, it's a bit of a rubbish picture, but apologies to the Austrians if they came in. The romantic Sea Hotel Jägerwirt Hotel in Austria. So they had to pay thousands in Bitcoin to cyber criminals who demanded 1,500 euros, £1,200 in Bitcoin. Otherwise, they'd lock down the whole network. It was a bit debunked. There's someone actually sure if it was actually locked into their rooms, locked out of their rooms, or just it hit the whole network. But either way, it shows how networks that aren't just users anymore, businesses connected to the internet are really being locked down. Basically, LA School, Village College in Los Angeles, their attackers seized file, email, and the messaging systems and ransomed them for $30,000. They said, you have 7 days, send us Bitcoin. After 7 days, we will remove your private keys and it's impossible to recover your files. That was a ransom left on the server. Damn important stuff. So, NHS Trust, they've had a real problem with this apparently. 30% suffered a ransomware attack according to a Freedom of Information Act request to 129 NHS Trusts. 94 had suffered some kind of ransomware problem. One, in particular, Imperial College, 19 times in only 12 months. So something's going wrong there. But what I found interesting, and sorry, this isn't my paper, but 87% said the attacker gained access through a networked NHS device, 80% targeted by phishing. We'll get onto how ransomware gets onto your website in just a moment. So, really, NHS, schools, VC, government, smart grids, everyone's getting hit by ransomware. Why? Because it's easy to create, it's off the shelf, you can use it, deploy it, and people click on this stuff, and it's not very nice stuff to deal with, really. So, FBI, have a look at this one. They actually originally said you should pay if you're hit. They changed their mind and said don't pay. So, pay, don't pay is still something this industry's really got to work out. But it's all right, because California said deploying ransomware is a crime. So if you are based in California, according to January 3rd, according to ours, yeah, you're going to be arrested for deploying ransomware, because obviously before that it was fine. You know, it was probably up there with you know, crossing the road or something like that, and when it went on the green light. But yeah, no, it's a crime now. So yeah, just be careful. And is everyone else going to roll something like this out? I don't know. It's if we've ever seen anything with the police and cyber, sorry to use the word cyber, but there we go. They do kind of not keep up too well, but they're doing the best they can, really. So that was then. So yeah, FBI. So what are we paying? You know, we saw there with the LA school, $30,000 they asked for. Well, this I got from the excellent Jeremiah. Well, following him, he works for a company called Sentinel One now, who are doing a lot of work on ransomware, actually. 50% paid more than 10 grand, 20% paid more than 40 grand. Yeah, pretty decent figures, actually, if you can earn that sort of money. But I say, don't be in California and ask for that sort of money. This is a little tricky to find, thanks to Andrew Hay, who sent me this. So, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it kind of matches up. So, Methodist Hospital, 425 million, that is. We're demanded 1,600, 5 days were locked down for ransomware, lost 5 million in revenue. Obviously Hollywood, keep an eye there, 970 million, lost 10 million. That I find weird about that. Look at that, 4 exactly the same, one asked 1,700. So if you are going to ask for ransomware, just kind of look at what everyone else is doing. Sort of the market, whoops, there we go. Price of the market, really, and they were locked down for 4 days. That's what it's costing businesses now. Yeah, 10 million, well, that's what revenue lost, 3 million, 10 million it costs this hospital in Hollywood. It's really quite, one of the first actually, Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center, to actually be locked down by ransomware, and yeah, actually quite a sort of a significant thing. So, kind of the problem is, as I said, you know, with this and what Jeremiah said, the business model for ransomware is working. 70% of businesses, victims paid the attackers to get their data back, studies found. And, you know, of those who paid, 50% paid more than £10,000. We see, you know, demanding 1,600. If you're not in info security, you don't know who to turn to fix you these sort of things. You have to ring some consultant who's probably as terrified as you are. Then, you know, how do you fix it? Some great sponsors, I'm sure they'd fix it all. I should make sure I've made that point. But yeah, how do you turn to? And if someone is saying, if you don't pay me, you know, £20,000 in Bitcoin or £500, whatever, and, you know, we delete all your photos, it can be quite terrifying for the victim. So, you know, the two sort of particular types of ransomware that we've seen the most popular, CryptoLocker, which first appeared around about sort of 2014, procured estimated $3 million before it was taken down by authorities. It was created by a subgroup within a gang in 2013. Those infected were originally, the request was $400, £237. Or equivalent in Bitcoin, and victims had 72 hours to pay up or face the fact that their keys would be, you know, destroyed. That's somehow the threat, really. It's not just we'll report you authorities, it's just you'll never see this ever again. That was CryptoLocker, CryptoWall. Again, apologies for the photos. FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center issued an alert warning businesses and individuals about the continued spread of cryptographic ransomware, as that had earned 18 million after they were contacted by 992 victims. So people are kind of, they see this and they go, oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, there's not many options to go to, and we're going to get onto that towards the end. But, you know, where did ransomware come from? Well, ransomware, because they're going to Microsoft, visiting unsafe, suspicious or fake websites, opening emails or email attachments from people you don't know and you weren't expecting, and clicking on links in Facebook, Twitter, Skype. I see quite a few of those, especially even from people I know. It's very easy to spread. It's drive-by, a lot of this stuff. It's, you know, it points you to a website, click this, and knocks you down. You know, unlike sort of Stuxnet, which was targeted against one particular facility, ransomware is just hitting everyone. I say it's off the shelf. I think there's something industry could be doing better, which we'll get to towards the end. But ultimately, if industry isn't taking down some of these websites, how is it actually keeping on going? So what I would sort of say is have a look at what just happened. There's lots of things that have allowed ransomware to succeed in info security, and I will put my hands up to the first one, press coverage. We keep writing about it. Look at all those examples I put up. I did that many for a reason, to show how we keep writing about this. If they're thinking, hey, look, you know, I get a bit of coverage every time I do something bad, I don't add up to it or admit to it, but I do actually go out and you know, prove that it's working. Encryption levels. I've just scribbled SHA1, SHA1, which I literally wrote about at 10 o'clock last night. Encryption, we've done such great encryption that people can't break it. And if that's what they're using, well, encryption is used by the bad guys as well. A lack of advice on how to be unlocked, we'll get to that in just a second. And there's an immediacy to click on stuff. You see something, look at this video of, someone of Graham Sutherland presenting on his talk earlier on. Watch this now. How many of you weren't in that talk would think, well, I'll go watch that. Bang, lockdown. It's a bad situation to be in. Are we doing decent awareness? I don't know if anything called cyber streetwise reached as far as Dundee or certainly Scotland. It was kind of prominent in London anyway. And the idea was some of these campaigns really laugh. I should probably do a separate presentation on just how brilliant they really were. And don't drink out-of-date milk, but you'd use an out-of-date browser. Who's using an out-of-date browser that even care about it? Does it work? Yes, we'll use it. That's the problem with a lot of users, consumers and IT. Society has led to this immediacy that's allowed ransomware to spread and actually become what it is. So, we carry devices. Mine's over there now, I've taken it out, but I see something, I click on it. Oh, what happened? Oh dear, I've locked myself down. It spreads through end drives, network connected devices, through, network attached storage. It's tricky. And this has all contributed to the scourge of ransomware. On the other hand, it's a great dream for a malware developer. They don't have to build anything that's particularly sophisticated anymore. There's barely any use for 0 days anymore, even though there's probably not that many around. The research level goes down, it's off the shelf, you can buy it, you can distribute it, people click on it, and you infect all of the people that you want to infect, and you get paid millions for it, apparently. Okay, you might not last very long, and as we've said, if you're in California, you get arrested for it now. You might get arrested everywhere else. So, it's one thing I wanted to point out in this talk was about hype, really. This isn't about hype, ransomware, it's a reality, it's a real thing. And one thing I want to just sort of wrap up with, I'm well ahead of time actually, but is what the industry has actually been doing to try and address this. So, in particular, this one appeared, say, 6th of August 2014, and keep an eye on that date, or keep that date in your mind for a moment, because I'm confused by something myself. This one in particular, CryptoLocker victims get files back for free. This was a story, I'll just let you sort of take that in really, but this was obviously just coming up 3 years ago. And the idea was that something called the Game Overs Use Group, who were distributing CryptoLocker, sort of a few people came together, they took back control of CryptoLocker. And as a result, one of the things they did, so phishing and FireEye did a online portal, which you could go there and unlock yourself, as it were. So, yeah, good idea. This was 6th of April 2014. I went to this on Monday. So that's actually a screenshot of my laptop. You can see what else I've been looking at. And, the website's offline. And great, thanks very much for that. So I went to FireEye and to Fox-IT, and this was actually what I got. I say 6th of August 2014. This I spotted this afternoon. I need to raise that on that. No longer providing decryption solutions for CryptoLocker. Senior reason different. We discontinued the website and its association decryption service on the same day. I need to check that with them. Spotted that just before. Yeah, that was one thing. It didn't last very long. And I went to them and to Fox-IT. Fox-IT said, as CryptoLocker was no longer being spread, usage of the service was decreased. Because the term CryptoLocker is quite often used for any type of ransomware, they decided just because people were coming there trying to get themselves out of crypto war and various other types of malware. But he said that to not give victims of future ransomware infections false hope by coming to our website. That's bloody harsh, isn't it? So the next one, this came out 2016. No More Ransom. This has been backed by government, law enforcement, a lot of vendors, a lot of industry people behind this. My only concern is it turns out one day it just gets discontinued. I'm waiting to see this host some sort of malvertising, because I think that would be awful. But a lot of people are doing good things. Yeah, you have a look on it. But my concern is that a lot of people are seeing this. They get a big blast of information in about 1 week, which we call Cybersecurity Awareness Week, sponsored by whoever. And this appears and people look at it and then they forget all about it. And I wanted to prove that people forget about it by doing this poll. This was a bit of fun we had just before Christmas. One of my marketing team, she said, can you think of some questions for polls? So I just thought, what was launched? And obviously, look at that, 29%, I've just rearranged the words, and the 29% think that's what it's called. Hopefully some of them were joking, but 114 people voted on this. So anyone good at maths, 34% of 114 were right. The rest, clean your laptop, ransomware be gone. So if anyone wants to, a lot of students in the room, if you want to create a ransomware solution, you're welcome to have that for free. I've created it, and I'm going to give it away. But yeah, it's pretty serious, actually, that these sort of things happen in our little info security bubble, really. So I'm conscious of running well under time, and I'm nearly done, so I'll let you go back to the bar. But yeah, with ransomware, effectively people are kind of throwing money away. You know, it's cheap to make, it's cheap to distribute, but it's very, very effective, and those who are affected get locked down pretty straight away. So, in conclusion, really, you know, the problem is getting worse. It's not getting better. No one's out there kind of saying, you know, let's try and actually to do this. And I do think to the bottom here, there needs to be better URL filtering, attachment blocking. If anyone here is here at Aberdeen is looking for business ideas upon actually leaving or things you can build, I think that's one of the things that this industry could do with actually is actually better URL filtering, attachment blocking, just things that the business could use to actually stop ransomware from spreading. Another problem I have, I get this a lot from the vendors, is I get people say to me, we want to talk about ransomware to you, and I'm like, what, solving ransomware? Like, yeah, and it's like, what's your solution? Oh, we tell you back up more. Great, thanks for that. Bounce back up, yeah, great, everyone should back up more. Stuff exists, you can back up to the cloud, etc., etc. I'm sure you're all doing most of that doing that anyway. But come on, let's just find something more than just, you know, restore, basically. That's got to be doing. Industry doing something, doing enough. No more ransomware is existing. I've not heard anything about it for about 6 months. As I said, with the crypto locker one is now offline. But I think the bigger problem is I think we're expecting the world outside to understand this and know exactly what's going on. Anyone who's got friends on Facebook who aren't in security, see the conversations they have about spy bots and oh yes, I love watching people try and figure it out. I don't claim to be any kind of expert, as I've probably proved with my lack of technical capability on this slightly rubbish slide. But you know, I'd like to watch people talk about ransomware and trying to figure out what to do and go through like message forums. I went through quite a lot when I was writing this talk, things like bleeping computer, and just people locked out stuff and they're trying to figure out what to do. It's really tricky. So just going to put the last word over to the very nice Gavin Millard from Tenable. It's monetization of poor security hygiene, whether it's in businesses who aren't doing the URL filtering, whether it's in the consumers. It's an industry problem, it's an overall problem, ransomware, and we've seen the level of businesses that have been hit, and I don't see anything really changing forward. So just to wrap up, this, I realize doing a bit.ly is a rubbish idea on the slide. I did an article for Infosecurity Magazine about the economics of ransomware, how Bitcoin payments are going up and down, what people are asking for. That is there. It's on infosecurity-magazine.com. It is behind a login wall, but I encourage you to create an account with us and sign up and start that, because then you can go to the Infosecurity Virtual Summit, 28th, 29th of March. They're on web, Twitter, and that's me. And I think with that, we are done. So thank you very much for listening.